Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Amie Howard Art. I'm Amie and today's art topic is all about commissions. So this is a much requested art topic. I get a lot of questions asking me about commissions, about pricing, about sizing, everything that kind of falls under commissions I'm going to answer and advise you today. So let's get straight into this, and I'm going to say that commissions are a great way to earn your income as an artist, if not the best way to earn an income as an artist. And it's a great way to earn income if you are just beginning or if you are an established artist. So taking commissions is something that you can do throughout your entire art career. It's not just something that you start at the beginning and then as you become an established artist that you have to think of different ways to go. You can continue doing commissions throughout your entire artist profession if you like to. So with income on mind, let's get straight into pricing. And I'm going to mainly talk about pricing if you are a beginner artist, because you more seasoned, more established artists, you know your stuff, you know your pricing, and you know how to do it. So this is more for beginner artists. And when you are a beginner artist, my advice to you is to start low, but not too low that you're actually undervaluing yourself. And it's a really difficult task to try and find where to actually put yourself in regards to initial pricing. And there are a couple ways in which you can do this. You can work on a time basis, which isn't necessarily the best thing to do if you are a beginning artist, because your pieces are probably going to take you quite a long time. And if you want to set yourself like a minimum wage of, I don't know, like £8 or £9 per hour, if it's going to take you a lot of hours to complete a drawing, then your prices aren't going to appeal to a lot of people because they're going to be quite high. So one of the pricing strategies which I would recommend is using the linear inch scale. So this is what a lot of artists use to begin with, because it gives the most realistic prices and it can give you consistency along your prices as well, which is what your customers are going to look for as well. So to work out the price by linear inch, you need to add the width and the length of your portrait. So say you have an 8 by 8 inch portrait, what you need to do is add 8 to 8 to give you 16 linear inches. So once you've worked out your linear inch, you then need to work out a price per inch for yourself. Now you can do this in however manner you like. You can pluck a number out of thin air, or you can go right down into the nitty-gritty details and work out a really specific price. But what I would recommend for beginners is to use somewhere between 5 and 10. So if we decided on £5 per inch, what we then need to do is take our linear inch number, which is 16, and we then need to times it by our price per inch by 5. And then we would end up with 80, and that would be the price for our portrait. Now, to a lot of people, £80 or $80 might seem like a really high starting point, but in this day and age, £80 or $80 isn't really that much. When I first started commissions, I was charging £35 for an A4 portrait, and looking back, that was ridiculously cheap, and I soon learnt my lesson that that was too cheap, and I was really undervaluing myself, and I was actually losing a lot of custom because people were thinking to themselves, why is it that cheap? And they were sort of put off because it was that cheap, because they thought that there was something wrong with the product that I was offering. So it's really important to not price yourself that low, but to price yourself somewhere that kind of makes you a little bit uncomfortable. Now, if I was just starting and I was working on that linear inch pricing scale and I come up with £80 for a commission, if I was just beginning, that would feel a little bit sort of high for my liking, and that's kind of where you want to aim. You want to aim sort of just out of your comfort zone. So if you're comfortable with a figure, I would be comfortable with charging £60 for a commission for an 8 by 10. So what I would do is go to that 80, because it's just stretching just outside that comfort zone, and that's ideally where you want to be. So in order to find your comfort zone when pricing, that is really just personal preference and the personal opinion and overall value that you feel that your work has. So I can't really guide you on where your comfort zone is. That is something that you need to work out for yourself. But a general scale to work on is that linear inch scale. And as you become more well known and you have that established customer base, that's when you can start to really up your prices. And when it comes to upping your prices, what you can do is work on your initial price. So you've worked on that linear inch scale or whatever you've kind of figured out for your starting price. What I would usually do is then add a percentage on top of that. So each year, as I became more well known, as my following was growing, I would up my commission price by 5 to 10%, sometimes even more than that. It depended on kind of how fast my following was growing and how in demand I was. At one point, I was taking commissions bookings for up to a year in advance, and that's when I knew that it was time to really push my prices up, so I increased by about 25% when I got to that point. So with your pricing, when you're a beginner, it's good to start low because then you can always go up. When you start high, it's really difficult to come down low without your previous customers feeling like you had overcharged them. So it's not really good practice to really charge high. So say you was charging £100 for a portrait. It's not good practice to then really drop your prices to say £50 because the people that were paying £100 for the portraits and the commission slots, they're going to feel a little bit cheated that you dropped your prices and are now offering them for less. Now that doesn't apply to sales or anything like that. Sales are completely acceptable to do, but when you have a price list and you start it high and then you drop it low and continue to offer those low prices, that's when your customers are going to get a little bit angry and they're going to feel a little bit cheated by yourself because you started with that high price and then dropped low. So the next thing which I get asked a lot is sizes. And this is really personal preference. It's what you feel comfortable with offering. Now, I used to offer a wide variety of sizes. I had so many to choose from that it was actually putting off customers because there was so much choice and because I put a lot out there. Now, it's good to have a lot of choice, but there is such a thing as too much choice and you can confuse your customers with that. So I would suggest choosing some sizes which you feel comfortable with. So maybe offer 1 or 2 small portraits like 4 by 6 inches or an 8 by 8 inch portrait. Then offer a couple of medium sizes, so a 10 by 12 or a 12 by 12, and then offer a couple of larger sizes. That's only if you feel comfortable with offering larger and smaller sizes, that is. If you only tend to work with smaller sizes, then offer a range of small sizes that you are comfortable with. And if you only like to work to a larger scale, then just offer those larger sizes. There's really no point in offering a size or anything that you feel uncomfortable with drawing. So if you tend to only draw small and you offer a size that is like A1 or A2 size, you're obviously not going to feel comfortable with drawing in that scale and you're not going to feel comfortable with the commission. And when people don't feel comfortable with their commissions, it often leads to an underperformance with the art. So it's a good idea to make sure that you are comfortable with the sizes that you're offering and you're not pushing and stretching yourself too far. So when you are looking at sizes and what to offer, I would suggest actually looking at a few of the more established artists' commission sizes and what they actually offer. So take a look at some of your favourite artists' website, see what kind of sizes they're offering and how many they're offering. Some of them actually only offer 1 or 2 sizes, but a majority of artists actually offer between 6 and 10 sizes. So I would suggest somewhere in that range if you're comfortable with that amount of sizes. So another tip, as a beginning artist and you're starting to take those commissions, what's really important is that you ask your clients to provide you with really high quality photos. And I cannot stress that enough, that working from high quality photos, especially if it is somebody's pet or grandmother or something or somebody that is really important to them, it's really important to have those high quality photos for you to work from. In the past, I have worked from a whole host of really horrible reference photos, really pixelated ones, and it really shows in the final art product. But having that really high quality reference photo to work from really does make all the difference. You might not think that it does make a hell of a lot of a difference, but it really does. You can really see it in the final product. So when you are taking those commissions, you've established your pricing, you've established those sizes, what you also need to ask your clients or potential clients to do is to provide you with high quality photographs. So it's a good idea to think about how and what kind of photograph you would actually like to work from, and then provide that information on how that customer can get that photograph for you. This next tip is, I think, the most important one, and that is to make sure that you take a deposit when your clients are asking you about a commission. Now, a lot of people feel a little bit scared about asking for a deposit and asking for that initial down payment and to secure their place. But what it does is actually separate your genuine customers from those people that are just sort of, should I, shan't I? So it establishes those genuine customers and those people that actually want to order your work. So when you are asking for a deposit, you can ask for any kind of deposit amount that you want. So what I did when I first started was actually ask for a 25% deposit, but that was because I was only charging a small price. So when you have a smaller price, it's more acceptable to ask for a larger deposit size. As I increased my prices, I actually reduced it to a £25 deposit, and then I have increased to a £50 deposit. So when you think about it, a £25 or a £50 deposit, it isn't a huge amount of money. And if you have a genuine customer, they're not going to mind putting that down payment down because they want to order your work. But if you was to ask for a deposit from a customer which was sort of still up in the air about whether they wanted to order your work or commission you, then asking for that deposit is going to make up their mind for you. They're either going to book or they're either going to go elsewhere. The next thing you need to think about are some terms and conditions, and these are really important, especially with the new data protection laws and everything that's just coming into effect. It's really important that you do establish terms and conditions and that you do have something for your customers to read if they want to. And it's just generally good business practice to have those on hand to provide if your customer asks for them. Now, there are tons of ways in which you can word your terms and conditions, and it's not something that I'm particularly well versed and really comfortable with giving advice for. So I would recommend doing a Google search, just researching a lot into terms and conditions, what to actually put into them. And again, if you have some favourite artists, have a look on their websites, because more often than not they're going to have a place for their terms and conditions and all of that stuff to do with data protection and all that kind of really admin-y, really businessy stuff. Have a look at some of your favourite artists, because they're going to have the information that you're going to need, and you can use some of them as a template. Obviously don't copy them word for word, but you can kind of get the idea of what you need to put into your own terms and conditions. So my last tip for you guys when you are taking on your commissions is to interact with your customers. And this might seem like a little bit of an obvious one, but I've seen it a lot, and people don't actually converse with their customers and they don't really communicate with them properly. And if you are wanting to take commissions, you're obviously wanting to start an art business, and as a business, communication with your customers is absolutely key. It's what establishes that connection with your client, and it helps to build that like, know and trust factor within your client as well. So if you're interacting with your client, they can get to know your personality, they're going to know that you're genuine and that you're not a complete con artist. That is one of the biggest fears I think a lot of customers have, is being conned into somebody taking their money and not receiving anything in return. So it's a good idea to communicate with your customer, to send them sort of mock-ups, to send them progress pictures, to let them know the details of their portrait, let them know that everything is going smoothly. If you're encountering any problems, if there's going to be a delay, I could go on. It's really important to communicate with your clients what exactly is happening with their order, with their commission. It's really important to do that. So what I used to do was to obviously establish that initial contact, to take the deposit, and then to tell them that when their portrait is booked in for, how long it's going to take, that kind of thing. Give them a rough scale of time, and then when it comes to starting the portrait, to send them a mock-up if it's a double portrait, or if they want a specific composition, or if it's a composition of a lot of different photos to meld into one Frankendog or something. You want to send them the mock-up and then the line drawing of when you've actually mapped that out onto your paper, and then you want to send them an abundance of progress pictures when you're adding your colour or for whatever you're going to do for the commission. I've learned from experience that your customers love the process of you creating their commission. That's one of the things which they have commissioned you for. They want that personable experience. They want that sort of interaction, and they want to feel included with the commission as well. So I think it is really, really essential that you do send an abundance of progress pictures, sort of not spam them with progress pictures, but send them a lot so they can feel really included with the process. And then it becomes really personal, and it becomes a great experience for both you and your client. So that's pretty much it for today's topic. I really hope that you have enjoyed this one and found it useful, especially if you are a beginning artist and you are looking into commissions as a form of making money with your art. So obviously there are a whole load of topics under the topic of commissions, and I've only just sort of scratched the surface here with the most essential ones, which I think are really going to help you beginning artists. So if you would like me to discuss more about commissions, some different topics, and maybe even some of the ones which I've mentioned here but in more detail, then let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you've liked it, then make sure you give it a thumbs up because it really does help out the channel. And if you aren't new around here and you like this and you want to see more videos along with art tutorials and live streams, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I have left some more videos just over there for you, which I think you're going to really love. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!